Well, right now we're live in front of Fall River City Hall, and almost every time I'm here, I meet citizens or city officials who are very invested in this story. They want to see the city move forward. They want to know what happens next. And by this time tomorrow, we should know if Mayor Correa will continue leading the city or not. It's the final push before Fall River's special election. The city's covered in posters representing each of the 5 candidates, including Fall River's current mayor, Jaisal Correa, who's facing federal charges triggering the recall and special election in the first place.
We're in the crunch, final countdown, the push. Recall election is Tuesday. I figure I know what the candidates are going to be doing this weekend. It's not what I'm going to be doing, but you could probably bet you're going to see some signs being held tomorrow morning, the Saturday morning sign holding, maybe some knocking on doors, a rally or two.
Tuesday's ballot will first ask if voters want Correa to be recalled. Then it will ask who you'd like to vote for. Mayor Correa's name is still on that list. The other candidates include Joe Camara, Erica Scott Pacheco, Kyle Riley, and Paul Coogan. The Board of Elections spent the night preparing all 29 polling locations. The chairwoman says the special election cost the city about $65,000.
But it's not unimportant. We're talking about the affairs of the city, talking about people's lives. We're talking about our indicted mayor, Jailhouse Jaisal Correa. We're talking about the possibility of another mayor. I mean, there's always another mayor. Nobody's really been able to hold the reins for too long. Shaky ground in Fall River. Tough to feel that we're not all going to get bucked off the pony.
If you're voting tonight, I encourage you to go and support your candidate tonight. Go shake their hand. Take a picture with them. Thank them for the campaign that they ran and let them know that you supported them. It's a night out. So be a part of history and go say hello to your candidate because they need your support too.
Voters in Fall River will be heading to the polls Tuesday on the ballot whether to recall Mayor Jaisal Correa, and if voters choose to do so, who will replace him.
Fall River.
But on this week's episode of Newsmakers, UMass Dartmouth professor Michael Goodman says it's possible Correa could be recalled and keep his position.
I think it's not an optimal arrangement when you've got the voters being drawn to the polls by the recall election and then immediately having to choose. I think the real issue comes up when you may have a situation where a majority of the voters in Fall River choose to recall the mayor and then a plurality, but a minority of the voters send him back to office. And so there's real concerns, I think, about how that could happen, what that might mean.
Goodman says on Tuesday, turnout will matter.
I think it's going to be critical. I think if you look at recent elections, it's been relatively low. Obviously, there are advantages of incumbency, and so the mayor has, I think, an advantage in terms of having an organization, having some resources, having name recognition.
We're not going to get recalled.
A special recall election will determine the future of Jaisal Correa as mayor of Fall River for the next several months until the regular mayoral election this fall. Before voting in his precinct Tuesday, the mayor stopped by his office at City Hall, confident he will not be recalled.
We are hoping, praying, and God willing, this is going to go our way.
If it doesn't, what's next?
Oh, it's going to go our way. So there's no what's next. What's next is tomorrow I wake up and I come back to my office on the 6th floor.
We're live inside Fall River Government Center where 2 precincts vote, and it's actually picked up in the past few minutes. Likely people are getting out of work at this hour. And here's a copy of what the ballot looks like. This is what everyone will get. The first question here asking if they want to recall Mayor Jaisal Correa. And second, no matter how you vote in question 1, everyone has the opportunity to then vote who they want for mayor.
Eyewitness News was able to catch up with 2 of the candidates during the last hours of their campaign. We asked what sets them apart from the others looking to lead the city.
Well, I think my experience. I've been on the council for 23 years, and I've known that, there's a lot of things that I've done for this community, and I think a lot of people know that and appreciate that.
I think the fact that I live in a low-income neighborhood, work for a local nonprofit serving the low-income community, I really understand the issues facing Fall River.
Erica, voters are faced with 2 questions on the ballot today. The first being whether to recall the current mayor. The second, to pick a possible replacement.
Today, the indicted incumbent mayor of Fall River cast his ballot in the recall. Insists that he can lead the city while fighting charges that could cost him his job and his freedom.
I certainly haven't been distracted. It's been 6 months, and there's not been a beat missed. Of course, I have concerns about the charges, but, we feel that to win that too.
But this morning, Mayor Correa was confident he'd retain his office.
I don't think it's been a distraction, right? I think that the people you might have talked to are people like the city council who seems to be distracted, people with political agendas, people with political vendettas. Those are the people that are distracted.
Also this noontime, your local election headquarters is covering today's mayoral recall in Fall River. Voters there have two decisions to make on the ballot today. One, whether or not to recall embattled Mayor Jazel Correa, and two, whether to re-elect Correa or choose one of the four candidates challenging him.
The future of Fall River Mayor Jazel Correa will be determined after 8 o'clock.
Fall River voters are deciding right now if their mayor should be ousted.
Jazel Correa is facing federal fraud charges. But as WBZ's Bill Shields shows us, Correa could be recalled and still keep his job.
A quintet of candidates are running to be the mayor of Fall River. Incumbent Mayor Jazel Correa, who is facing legal trouble over an internet app he tried to start a few years ago with some $300,000 of investment money. So City Councilor Joseph Camara took up the challenge. School Committee man Paul Coogan jumped in. Former councilor and school committee member Kyle Riley is in the race, as well as Erica Scott Pacheco, who works at a local nonprofit. This city has experience with recall elections, allowing the Board of Elections to have a feel for turnout tomorrow.
Whoever wins this recall election might not be mayor for long. There's another primary in September. In Fall River, I'm Bill Shields, WBZ News.
The polls close tonight at 8 o'clock.